Welcome to the show, Tim. So please introduce yourself and tell us about you, your company, please.
Yes, my name is Tim Rottet, and I'm the president CEO of Encore Loyalty here in Houston. And 100% of our clients are restaurant clients. And I've been in the email and internet marketing space really all the way back to 2001. My first day of work was literally 9/11, and I walked in the door of a 54-story building at 9 o'clock in the morning for my first day of work. So yes, I have a storied career as studying people's behavioral patterns and dealing with the unknown, if you will. So I was with this company for several years and then moved back to Houston, where I started my own internet marketing company, Encore Loyalty, in 2007. And that was an interesting experience prior because we were tracking everybody by credit card number back in the days when you could previously. So I had all this information, all this knowledge about customer behaviors. How do people react when you have a $50 offer that you give them? And is that something they take and abuse, or is it something that they feel like it's something they've earned? And that's really what I learned early on, is that you're not cannibalizing your business when you do these offers, because we were studying what the check average was prior to the offer. And then when you do a $50 offer, we'd actually see that they would act like it was money burning a hole in their pocket, and they would spend more money to where their check average was literally a dollar or two above or below the normal check average. So it was a real important psychographic of customer behavior that I learned very early on. In fact, it served me well because when I first started my company in 2007, there was so much information I already knew that I knew that we really didn't have to put restrictions on our emails for that reason, because it really speaks to the core of the relationship between restaurant owners and customers. And this is something that I've learned over the years. In fact, I even dealt with restaurants back in the 80s as well. And I understand how they feel about their customers, but something they don't necessarily understand themselves is that they're really kind of celebrities. Everybody wants to know the owner, everybody wants to know the GM, and everybody wants to know the chef. So they're real easy to date. There was a TV show in Houston, in the U.S. for years called uh, um, good gracious, I'm drawing a blank. Um, Cheers. The name of the show was Cheers, and this is where everybody knows your name, and that's what people like. They like to come into the restaurant and say, "Hey, Tim, come on, nice to see you again." So everybody, it's really easy to get along with the customers if you're giving them the right service, you're giving them the right quality of food, and in doing so, that's a perfect relationship, right? But we all know in the restaurant industry that every visit's different. And because it's different, there's different feelings and emotions that take place back and forth. So fast forward to our basic loyalty program that a lot of people can do, but our specialty really was custom email marketing. So when we sent an email out, we wanted people to feel the restaurant. I had a client the other day who was using his advertising agency, and it was really basic. It's just slapping on a logo and pictures of food. And they said, "Can you help us with this? Or is this something that your team can do?" And I kind of chuckled. I said, "That's exactly what we do, because we send an email out, we want people to feel it. And it's just staying in constant communication with your customer." So it was all about joining the E-Club too. So we were always trying to chase that elusive E-Club sign up. So it went so far as I actually invented a electronic check presenter, where you would open it up and it would ask your name and birthday, anniversary, email address. But then we took it a step farther by basically combining a customer comment card with the joining the e-club. And by asking all those different analytic questions, we now really got ourselves into the business, because all this information would be going to the Encore eCloud, come down to our reporting, and then it was sorted and cross-referenced, and we have really great reporting back and forth on it, where we were blending questions to determine certain things. And as a result, you could see a clear distinction with people that were disgruntled. How likely are you to recommend us? And so the EPAD was very successful, but it was kind of basic in a sense, but it was really great at capturing email addresses. Fast forward to COVID, and boy, that changed everything for everybody.
It did change things for lots of industries,
Yes.
especially hospitality industry, like restaurants.
Hospitality.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And yeah, that's they're both considered hospitality in that, under that umbrella. So at the time in restaurants here in the US, you could not have anything on the table whatsoever. They barely opened up. So my electronic tablet was nowhere to be found. And I could see something else was coming on the horizon. And we were kind of in the hardware business, which I did not want to be. And this is our opportunity to make a switch. So I asked my programmer, my architect, said, does the technology exist where you can take a QR code, and instead of having a $150 tablet on a check presenter, is there a way they could scan the QR code so that great check 5-page app that was on the Google Play Store, that you could have that app basically put onto everybody's phone? And he said, yes, the technology does exist. And so let's do it. And no questions, it was the right path for us to go down. So that got us into a situation where we were really focusing more on the data, on the analytics. And we started shying away from the use of saying, join our e-club, and because there's a lot of waiter involvement with that. And what we found is that when we asked them for a survey, how was your visit? Which is the last thing people say, the waiters say to the customers in the restaurant. It's the perfect time to say, oh, well, great, that's wonderful. If you don't mind, we'd love for you to put that down there, because we do know every visit's different. And it's that little difference. We may not have gotten it right, or we may have gotten it totally right. That's what we'd like to know. And when they did that, we found that 98% of the people that gave us the information, they would answer 18 questions on average. They would tell us all this information, and we got the e-club addresses anyway. So we didn't really have to be in the e-club business. So it was this big paradigm shift with all my customers, and it was pretty funny, because they were saying, whoa, wait a minute. I wanted your services because I wanted to build my e-club. And I said, hold on. And I'd have to take them through the analytics. I'd show them the back end and the reporting and say, we're already getting it. So we don't really have to ask for it, even because we have the disclaimers in there that they're giving us their information and permission to send them information. So again, it goes back to, they really want to help the restaurants. And that too is explained in the highest open rate you can have for an email. That means how many people get an email and actually click on it and technically read it. And the highest is when you have the subject line that says, we need your help. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. And so that speaks to, yes, I want to help you. Yeah. The great neighbor we wish we all had, right? Well, the question then is, does this transcend to how likely are you to recommend us? And then we have one of the questions we ask on the QR code is, how likely are you to recommend us? How did you find us? And if they say referral, then you want to look at how many people did refer the restaurant. Did the two correlate well? Meaning they say how likely are you to recommend us very high, but then you have a low referral rate. It's like, yeah, they said they were going to refer us, but the data is saying they're really not referring us. So these little subtle things that you look at, and this is the beauty of AI, is that it becomes this, dare I say, this wonderful dumping ground for all this information. And once it has enough information and it's all in this beautiful pool, the clear ether, it's now being able, you give it instructions on what to look for and what are the trends you're trying to find. And it brings all this to light. It brings it all to the surface. So it's really a great thing. So I would say our mission with Encore Loyalty has always been to increase the customer interaction to such a degree that it's going to be raising their relationship with their customers, with the owners of the restaurant, to the benefit of customer lifetime value. So in holding to that mission statement, that and everything's going to be automated. So automation and increasing customer lifetime value. So in looking through the data and searching for these things, as of 6 months ago, we had this euphoric moment that it was like, oh my goodness, this is exactly what we can do. Restaurants always talk about getting new business and pouring it into the top of the bucket. And they're talking about getting repeat customers coming into the restaurant to increase that revenue and float up the business. However, AI has been really great at uncovering this hidden opportunity, this incredible opportunity. No one ever talks about the attrition coming out of the bottom of the bucket. Yeah, I've been in this business for 30 years, and it's the white elephant in the room. How can you, let's don't talk about that. People just leave the rest and go to another restaurant. We blamed it on trends. We blamed it on the competition. But in going through and looking at the data closely, it's about mending relationships. We find manually, I would find a customer that has been there 10 times a year. And then I look back on that same question set, they said, how likely to join us? And they go neutral. What? Anybody that comes to a restaurant, and I've verified this with all my clients, anybody that comes to the restaurant 4 or more times a year, at some point in time, they would highly recommend the restaurant. You only give a restaurant 1, 2, maybe 3 chances, and they're not coming back. So if you got a customers 4 or more times, that's something we expect. So it's a high bar. We found that there's a problem there. It didn't really come to full light until I had a client in Louisiana near New Orleans. And we had done such a great job creating all these customer comments and all this data that told him that you need to respond to these customers. In 1 month, he had 100 people. Who could do that? It's humanly impossible. So I created a monster, and the monster was the system worked so well that it became a big problem for my clients. And I say a big problem. They didn't foresee it as a problem. They just kind of like, oh, well, I don't have time for that. But you know what? That was the big problem, because what's worse than someone coming in and having a bad experience? The thing that's worse is when that customer voices a complaint or concern and no one ever gets back to them.
Yeah.
Now no one likes being ignored, especially when they feel like they're corporate owners in the company, in the restaurant. Everybody feels like they own the place. They're always giving advice to the owners, but that's fine. I know you're listening to me, but when I write to you specifically, That's a huge problem. So we now got this incredible opportunity of taking this dreaded reason why restaurants are the number one failure rate business in America is because of the attrition, people losing the bottom of the bucket. There's the National Restaurant Association has a number. If you look at all your customers from a unique standpoint, meaning 10-time customer counts as the same percentage of being a customer as a one-time customer or a three-time customer, 4 to 6. So if you look at those all from a unique customer standpoint, the average percentage of those unique customers that are truly repeat customers is 15%.
Well, that's very interesting.
Yes, and talking about
I
that.
think that's interesting, isn't it? Because you're collecting so much data, that's giving you so many insights, and this is how you're able to help all these restaurants to retain and bring those customers back in. And especially you have the data as well. So that's actually fantastic. Thank you for giving such a high level overview of the business. Just give us some idea about the scale of the business, how kind of you've been in the business for a while. So how many customers you're serving right now, or what's the size of the company?
We've have probably 500,000 customers, restaurant customers, frequenting all the different restaurants in the Houston area, Louisiana, Oklahoma. So we've had a lot of experience with this data in different regions. We have clients that are Mel's Country Cafe with used to be a $28 check average, and not a PPA, but a check average, all the way up to steakhouses that have a $350 check average. And that's real interesting too, because they've both been clients of mine for over 10 years. So it really works for everyone. And here in the States, where we have a lot of choices to dine out, obviously, but there's a lot of different kinds of ways that we would dine out. We'll go to the high-end restaurant, we'll go to the hamburger place, we'll go to the casual place, and then you've got Italian and all different kinds of cuisines mixed in there. But they all are pretty common. Now, we've never done anything outside the U.S., and I'm sure England would be something interesting to see about psychographics there compared to the U.S., but I can only speak to what I know, and that constant has always remained the same.
I totally agree. Since you touched upon AI is everywhere at the moment, as we know, and even people like Bill Gates, actually, they're saying that this is probably the biggest thing they've ever seen in their career, in their life, and probably the biggest opportunities as well. So what kind of trends are you seeing in your industry or in the business when it comes to AI?
It's interesting. Restaurants are notorious for being very slow to adapt to technology and to changes. When I first started in the business in 2001, a lot of people didn't have a POS system. That was huge technology back then. And they were slow to embrace it. And then the next iteration was when COVID hit. And COVID hit, and everybody had to get real smart, real fast, and real lean and mean. And that had to be with a POS system. But everybody started going to a cloud-based system, and they would abandon their older systems for these cloud-based systems. And that was real interesting. And now they're getting very technical about it. However, you have to understand the mentality of the restaurant owner. They spend all day long making maybe 100 decisions a day, right or wrong. And they've learned they have to live with those decisions, right or wrong. So what you do is you create a boss, if you will, that's always right.
Yeah.
Enter the ego. And then it's really interesting when you start talking to them about new technology. Keypad was one of those. They just, well, I don't no, I'm just going to stay where I'm comfortable. But AI is forcing this. You'd better do it. I attended I was invited to an AWS conference for Gen AI a year and a half ago, and they made the comment. It was only for CEOs and venture capitalists. There were only 36 of us, and they had AI representatives from all over the country, leaders, telling us about Gen AI. And they said, if you have a 2-year plan, we 5-year plan, but you could tear both of them up because AI is going to change everything. Just don't even look at it.
When was this, Tim?
Pardon?
When was this?
This was June of 24.
Okay. Last year.
Pardon?
Last year.
Yes, last year, a year and a half ago. And that's actually how I got my introduction into everything. So my knowledge of AI was about like that when I attended this conference. And it was interesting because we had it was at the Fairmont Hotel, and at the end of it, we had a really nice 5-course meal, and everybody was broken out into focus groups. And anyway, so they went around to the different tables asking what your impressions were. And I was one of the last people to speak for our table. And I said, I have to tell you, I really enjoyed today. It's been a very enlightening day, filled a lot of ideas, and I want to thank you for it. I must say, I came in here knowing very little about Gen AI. And then I had a long pause and I said, and I'm going to be leaving here knowing very little about Gen AI. And the whole room broke out in laughter because it was the uncomfortable. He said the uncomfortable thing we're all thinking. And we were all thinking that, wow, we've got so much to learn. And that is true. So I've always been good about staying ahead of the curve. And I saw AI coming. I'd already instructed my team to rebuild our entire reporting section so it will be AI friendly. So, and I come back to you in 6 months and I want to go left or I want to go right, you better be able to do that with this platform. And say, okay, yes. And that was a great foresight on my part, because then enters AI for real. And after the conference, I was approached in January by AWS. They called me from their corporate office and they told me asked me what my plans were with AI. And I started speaking to this idea of being able to identify and flag emotional signals in our data that we could then blend and cross-reference with demographic and analytics that we had to determine how valued, understood, and satisfied a customer was. And boy, oh boy, I struck a button, struck a nerve. And they wanted to have a meeting the next day. And I was, oh, great. Okay. And they brought on their premier tier development team. And we've been running together ever since. And thanks to a lot of grants we received from AWS and a great team of developers, we are about 3 weeks away from launching our product that I'm convinced, I must say, I've slept really well all during the process. When you have the best people on the planet building your AI out from the ground up, no one's really going to argue that. So, but what we did, it just kept growing and growing and growing as to what should we do? Well, let's do that. Well, let's do this. Well, let's do this. And it got to a point to where we had really literally built an entire AI ecosystem rather than just an AI product. And what that means is that we have built a product that is going to house all of our SaaS softwares, all of our AI products in an environment, but also our clients are going to have their own individual AI, as I mentioned before. And then their locations below that are going to have their own AI ecosystems that they're going to be storing and doing all this information. And it's so personable and so personal that they can name their AI. Call it, think about what you want to name it, because it's yours. And to get your team involved with it, get them thinking about, maybe you have a contest. What name do we want to call our AI system with the GMs and things like that? So it's on purpose because we want to give it a personality. We want it to, everything we do is designed to be human-like. And it's pretty amazing. These are the people that wrote the book on how to speak like Tim Rottet, how to, meaning the same words, the same inflections, the same focus or lack thereof. It just takes on your persona, and it's truly amazing what you can do. But you can also, you want to train it too, to how do you normally speak to your customers? What would you do in this situation that someone else wouldn't do?
That's
And
interesting.
you
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree. Actually, the AI is changing the way in such an incredible way. It's totally paradigm shift in the last 2 or 3 years since AI came on the scene in 2022, I guess. But switching the gears a little bit, Tim, so it sounds like it is a great milestone for you. By the end of this month, you are launching this program, and I wish you, on behalf of everyone listening, a great success in this. But that's 3 weeks from today, because the things are changing so fast. What would you say will be the milestone or the goal, the big strategic goal you like to achieve, maybe 6, maybe 12 months from today? The reason I'm asking 6 to 12 months is the way things are moving, the way things are changing. So, it used to be 5 years. Now we're talking about months. So if we are
yeah,
talking by the Christmas 2026, what kind of milestone or the strategic goal you would like to achieve, and that will make you really happy?
we've already done it. And what I mean by that is, and why I'm still sleeping well, and it's a great question, because if it's changing so fast, and we're all supposed to make these big investments in our companies, and what happens if we build this thing, we do the whole thing, and all of a sudden we find out it's all outdated. It's all tear it down and build something else. So that's exactly why we structured this the way we structured it, that we have this ecosystem, and we're using AWS, which is a layered bedrock of different interfaces. And we built everything from an API standpoint to where we truly are going to have a platform, believe it or not, that is future proof. And that means if we got the best mousetrap there is for capturing data and giving our clients the best AI possible, and then someone else comes around and says, yeah, but we're doing this with our AI, then we go, great, come on, we'll plug you in right here. And that's where it just grows and grows. And you never become outdated. You can always add modules to it. And that's really the beauty of it. You can, uh, nothing is impossible. But to answer your question, back in 2001, I was pulling data from POSs, and we can do that again. We can tie it into anything you want to. But the one thing people don't understand is that we use the word AI, and believe me, there are so many companies that throw around that word and that term very loosely. But who are you to know, right? So all the more reason you don't really, you just need to know one thing. All AIs are not built to talk to each other. And if you don't have your systems talking to each other, then you've got a problem. And why I'm saying that is that we built a strategic interface that we know how it's built, and here's what you need to do to tie into it. So if you've got XY and we've got XYZ, well, you're going to have to plug in a certain way to where we can take your AI and clean it in our system to make it compatible, and then everybody wins because we can share data back and forth at that point. But when you have two strange systems and your programmer goes off and retires in the Bahamas and he's nowhere to be found and nobody knows what's going on, you just think of the world's biggest website that you have and you can't find your webmaster and you don't know anything about it or how to get into it. That's going to be a big problem for a lot of people. It won't be a big problem for any of our clients because AWS is not going anywhere. It's actually the global leader in cloud computing and internet securities. In fact, they're the global partner with Formula One. They actually designed their Formula One cars. If you look that up, these are the savants. They have a 33% market share. Next closest is Google with a 12%. So I'm not worried about them going out of business. And so they're going to be around for a while. But the great thing is that our clients will always have access to this premier tier IT team. So as we go, as AWS goes, and if that team is no longer there, then AWS is going to give us the other team that's going to know exactly how it's built, and we're already hosted on AWS. So I'm not trying to sell here, but all this was a part of your great question, where thought process we had to go through. And that's what really built this into something bigger, bigger, bigger. There's no sense in just doing AI at that point. They have a saying at AWS, it's think big and go fast.
They do. That's
Boy, oh
way.
boy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it's a fascinating journey once you embrace it. And
I totally agree. It's you certainly are in good hands when it comes to AWS or in Amazon, one of the most successful companies in the world right now. So you certainly are in good hands. Tim, you are obviously at a stage where you're scaling the businesses and you're preparing to get to the next stage in your journey. Just curious, many scaling businesses that hit a wall and stop growing at some point. So in your company, tell us a little bit about what is the most time consuming or the resource heavy processes you guys do that still rely on manual labor, for example, where you could use maybe modern technologies to change things a little bit.
Great question, because we're still a small company, which always had its pitfalls, right? Now being associated with AWS in a way gives us the credibility we need to play with the big players, the multi-unit restaurants, because the way we have it built is that we're going to have our basic business model, and there's all kinds of things that you can do to tweak this and customize it however you want it done. And that's the thing, is not going to bog us down, because I have an arrangement with the CEO of the development team that anytime anybody wants any kind of services, it's like, okay, call Ren. That's my contact. Ren will take care of you. Great guy. And they go off and they do all this planning and they do all the strategic things that they want to, and they're tying into it. So we have that in place. There's plenty of market share to go after with our business, and I'm sure it'll lead to someone smarter than myself coming on board and seeing the opportunity with what we have. And you can easily apply this to the hospitality industry, to the retail industry. And we have grown from being a little email marketing company with tens of thousands of competitors to a custom developer of some hardware, software, and now we've really come into our own with becoming a legitimate software company. And now the next step is becoming a legitimate AI company, which that's inevitable. Everything has been a stepping stone. And if I could give any advice to entrepreneurs out there, one, you have to be passionate about what you're doing. And if you're passionate, then, and I put my faith in it as well. So I just know the path that I'm on is the right path, and it's going to lead to something good. And it's been amazing, and it hasn't been easy at all, but it's been amazing when you can just see those pieces fall into place. And I can honestly tell you that every decision I made in the past, every right decision, every wrong decision was done for a reason. And it all has brought me here to exactly where I am right now. And not that I'm even all that terribly successful yet, but I know I'm doing it. It's all right. You can't tear it apart. You can't, it's solid. It's strong. And so, I do not know what the future holds in store, but I do know that anything I want to do, I'm just going to plug it in, get it plugged into here. And
So this shift towards the AI, I'm sure you speak to many customers on a daily basis, or maybe other peers in the industry as well, or other people in the industry overall. So I'm just trying to understand your, I mean, where you're coming from in terms of, do you feel any fears or uncertainties you might have, or other people in the industry might have, when it comes to the AI shift, the way AI is moving?
yes, I did lose several customers, a lot of customers after COVID. And I did lose a lot of customers during the development of this AI. And you know what? It's every business owner hates that. But they, one recently, it's just, he just isn't like-minded, and he would never embrace AI. And I don't have time for it. And it sounds horrible because I was the guy that was, I go over there and mow your yard if you wanted me to. And these are the independent restaurant operators. So it's important you have people with that are like-minded. Otherwise, they're going to pull you down. It's just not going to be a good marriage. So right now I'm in the process of contacting all my clients and saying, I want you to get AI, and I want you to start getting comfortable with it, because they're going to be expected to go in there and train their own AI and just be conversational like we are now. And it's really quite fun once you get comfortable with it, in using it. And once they do that, then things will start to really open up. But you can't, it's like politics. You can't really understand what you should believe until you know both sides of it, right? So you need to know the AI side of it. And the people that aren't interested in doing that, I it's like your best friend that has a problem, a substance problem. There's only so much you can do. So
Right, I totally understand your point, because my view is that, I don't know who said it, but the change is the only constant. So the things are always going to change. AI, of course, is changing things much more faster than anything else we have seen before.
yes,
So this is only going to accelerate. So we have to change with time. So regardless which business we are in, so we have to make changes. And I guess that's why we're talking about AI anyway, because AI is something we need to be aware of. We need to understand, we need to educate ourselves with AI, with a solution, whatever is available, to make things much more productive and much more efficient for our businesses. And you sound like you're on the right track. But talking of which, Tim, I'm just curious. I know you spoke a lot about the product you're creating and the service you're creating for your customers. But when it comes to your own business, you have lots of customer data, you have operational data, obviously. With your team, how are they spending most of their time when it comes to, are they collecting the data? Are they cleaning it? Are they actually acting on it? Or are they using AI to do all that stuff?
AI does all that.
Okay.
The only thing the restaurant has to do is have the customer scan the QR code.
I'm sorry, Tim, not the restaurant. The restaurant is a client, but for your company, so are you using AI inside your company as well?
Right, but that's my point. The only thing anybody has to do is
Okay.
worry about is scanning the QR code. I don't even have to worry about doing anything as far as administratively goes, except my team that develops and creates emails and sends them out automatically. But that too is probably going to have a short lifespan, quite frankly, because AI is going to get so good at it. We'll probably have AI incorporated into it. Going back to a question you asked me before about what we're doing and what am I worried about, we're building an AI first company with my architect at AWS. So AWS technically is going to be running everything. It's going to be doing my accounting. It's going to be doing my billing. It's going to be doing my prospecting. It's going to be doing my all these things to get the process going. But there's always going to be that need for the human interaction. I think that's what you're getting at, right? Is that you're going to have AI is not designed to replace humans. It's designed to help humans. If you're at the right level. Now, if you're down the totem pole in even computer programming, you need to either figure out how to get to the top of that pole real quickly, or you need to find another way that you can work into the AI world as a vocation, because it is going to work. Our country for sure is going to take one step backwards to take 10 steps forward. But you know this is true when you see all these companies investing trillions of dollars in infrastructure. And well, that's good because it takes people to build all these things out and all that. But once AI is fully operational in 2 years, no one knows. I mean, Elon Musk doesn't know. He has some ideas, he's got some plans, and a lot of those will come true. But what I drive down the street and I think about traffic lights. And why is this light on so long? And I'm talking to my wife, Suzanne, we need AI on these traffic lights because it would know exactly how many cars to let go so that more cars can go that way. And the people left turn lane, it doesn't need that much time. And it can always move, ebb and flow. So yes, it's the older you are, the more stubborn you become, right? And the more you resist change. And that's the crazy thing. And I was in that spot for a while, and I made a decision to get out of it. And that's probably the first step to embracing AI, right? Would be
I totally agree. So you have to recognize, I totally agree. Totally. When, sorry, Tim, just going to ask you on that topic, do you see elsewhere, not necessarily in your industry, but across the economy or across the world, do you see people losing jobs because the AI is coming?
The guy that programs the traffic lights, there's someone's going to have to oversee that, but there's a lot of people that do that. It's in architecture. My wife is a big interior architect and then used to do all these plans by hand. And now machines are doing that at a crazy pace. It just so happens she's just at a really high level of design with major hotels that that'll 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 be around. The book I used to work for, Guest Informant, was a hardbound book in hotel rooms around the country. It tells you places to go and things to do. Well, that is what you call a coffee table book. So I knew it still was not going to be affected by the phone book. It wasn't going to be affected by the periodicals, the magazines that were mailed out to people. All that's gone digital. So anything that you see is digital in your work environment that may affect your job, then that's AI is going to definitely come in. That's easy prey. That's the low hanging fruit, if you will. But I hate to think about other people losing their jobs. It's not a fun process for me, but I can think about my industry and identify places where that is. Like waiters, for example, there's still going to be a need, like there is a need for the coffee table book and for waiters, the good waiters. And we went through a period of time here with waiters. They just didn't want to work. They didn't care about being fired. They was just apathetic. But I think we're seeing a cultural change here to where they're going to understand they need waiters, but they may need fewer waiters based on efficiencies. So we have handheld devices now at the table where people can order and streamlining the operation, getting back and forth to the kitchen. So there's a lot of automation taking place already in my industry, but there's, I think you could just kind of look at it and look for that digital footprint that's going to precede everything.
Do you the industry, really well, like restaurants, etc.? Do you see many restaurants? I'm talking about not the top end restaurants or the big chain restaurants, but normal, ordinary restaurants. Are they using AI a lot in their like marketing or sales or operations or anything like that to make things much more efficient for themselves?
No, there's a company that builds websites and combines that with online ordering, and several companies that do that, and then you pay a fee to have all that combined together. But they're really based on analytics and not AI. And that was the big hot topic for the last 3 years. Oh, such and such is doing all these great analytics. Analytics is high school, and AI is advanced PhD classes. There's just no comparison. And I can say that on a podcast, but I can't say it in front of some people that would take exception to that. But it's true, because even menial tasks of responding to social media posts that are negative and monitoring that just becomes monotonous. And I have the greatest eighth personality person in my company. She does a great job, and she was doing customer replies herself, and she was wonderful for about 2.5 months. And then all of a sudden I could see it was copy paste. It was shorter and shorter feedback to the customer, and it's just human nature. So anything that humans aren't really great at, AI is going to come in and do it for them. So
Especially if it's repetitive.
especially what?
Especially if it's a repetitive task or something you have to do over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
So the AI can do even better.
Yes. Yeah, it doesn't take coffee breaks. It's just as far as automation goes, great. But I don't see robots in restaurants. I've seen them at trade shows, but I just can't. I don't see that happening. Maybe that's my age talking, but I people go to restaurants for an ambiance, right? And you can get a really good waiter to do the same thing, quietly refill your drinks without you really even seeing it. That's a sign of a good waiter, right? Or server. So And
I guess the restaurants could do things like I've seen restaurants here in UK. I'm based in UK in London. I've seen some restaurants starting to use AI to receive the phone calls when people call in to book the table, or and some other industries as well. So AI can do those things, but doing the cooking as a chef or the serving, I'm sure that's we are probably a few years away from that eventuality. But I don't think that's going to happen just yet. But you never know the way things are going. But Tim, before we wrap up, we actually are coming to the top of the hour. Before we wrap up, what's one key piece of advice you will give other CEOs or the business leaders or your peers who are trying to manage the gap, let's say, between where they are right now to the cutting edge future you have described based on the AI? Because you are knee deep into the new technology, and you're very interested, you're always learning, and you're open to change. But there are many people out there, they're still managing, and they are where they are. So what one piece of advice did you give them?
I think it's the same piece of advice I give my clients is that get yourself an AI, a chat GPT advanced. I say advanced. The next tier up is it's $19 a month, and you can knock yourself out on that. I did a chat GPT session last week that was typed out would be probably 10 to 15 yards long in typing, conversational back and forth. So once you start doing that, I got my wife doing it, and she's just using it like Siri. Well, forget Siri. It's usually wrong now, but I'm sure the next iteration is going to be incredible. But use it on here's an example. I bought a 4K TV, new one, Samsung, most amazing TV in the world, F95, if anybody's in the market. Anyway, and I had an Apple TV device because I'd read that it gets a better picture when you do that, all TVs. So I asked ChatGPT, how do I set this up and do this and do that and whatever? And that was my first real experience. Like, oh my God, I have the world's greatest picture on my 55-inch TV. I'll put it up against anything. You think it's just unbelievable. And I've had it for like 4 months, and I still keep saying, honey, look at that. Look at that picture. But it's things like that bring you such joy that you use for that reason, and you find all kinds of good excuses. So get comfortable with it, and then you're going to get comfortable, and then you're going to start thinking outside the box. My own architect, I got to leave it on this, I guess, but my own architect with AWS, he has he's been working so hard on so many different projects, not only mine, but other ones. And he was telling me he's just been working with ChatGPT, and he's amazed how far it has come along. And he said, I did I did 3 weeks worth of work in a day and a half that I normally, and he's the guy that's totally on top of AI. He said, I could not have done this 2 weeks ago. It was not available. So yeah, wow. If Chat GPT can continue to impress him, then that says a lot.
Yeah, it's incredible actually how quickly they're coming up with new updates all the time. They seem like they're coming up with updates every 2 weeks, I think. So they're coming up with new ways of doing things, of creating new videos and creating, well, I could go on, but yeah,
Yes.
it's really incredible.
Mm-hmm.
But I
Yeah,
think learning. Sorry, carry on, Tim.
it's all right. So it is amazing what is coming along in such a short period of time. You don't even see it coming. It's there and it happens. But all the more reason, find yourself a great developer. If you're in business for yourself, someone you can trust, someone who really knows what they're doing. And I'm the guy that's been spending lots of money in India because it's really good value, but it gets to a point now where it's worth every penny what I'm having to put out now.
I guess start getting used to it. I mean, start getting comfortable with the new technology. So don't let the change get in the way of your progress. I think that's a really powerful takeaway, Tim, and a really fantastic way of putting it as well. So it perfectly actually summarizes the challenges many businesses or the people, the CEOs, the leaders we speak to, we know they actually are facing today. And in fact, actually something we hear this all the time, as I said. So I think we got to the point where not adopting or adapting to the AI or automation is actually costing lots of businesses a lot of money. So the best way really to do that is, as you say, just get comfortable with it and don't worry, the change is going to happen. But if you don't change, if you don't learn, then the cost of not doing something or inaction is going to be far greater than doing something. So $20 a month, that doesn't sound like a big investment to me, if that can keep your business going at least for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but thank you, Tim. Tim, really appreciate that. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and your time as well. I've enjoyed this chat so much, especially your experience going back 30 years. Your insights are really invaluable for me, for many people listening to this podcast. Before I let you go, Tim, can you share how the listeners can get in touch with you if they need to get in touch with you?
Oh, sure. You can visit our website. It's encore-ai.com. So that's ENCORE-AI.com. And that'll kind of give you an overview of what we do. But at the bottom of that page, there's a customer comment section where they can contact us, and I get all of those. So feel free to reach out to me there, -ai.com.
Brilliant. Thank you, Tim. Really appreciate that. Thanks for your time. And we all wish you the best of luck in your journey going forward.
Great. Thank you. Been a pleasure.